but it scans everything and it takes a couple of seconds. So the bookkeeper can come in, scan, double check that the bookkeeping was done right. And once it checks out, they can go to their customer and say, hey, your data is good to go. Customer comes into Hub Analytics and starts chatting with the chatbot to ask questions about the data, get visualized charts and graphs, and really have kind of this virtual CFO experience, which is cool.
You're listening to the Spotlight edition of The Successful Bookkeeper with your host, Louis Prosperi. Listen each week as inspiring guests share their secrets of success to help you increase your confidence, work smarter, and build a business you love. This episode of The Successful Bookkeeper is brought to you by PureBookkeeping.com, the proven system to grow your bookkeeping business.
Welcome back to the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. I'm Louis Prosperi. Our returning guest is the co-founder and chief revenue officer of Hub Analytics. Tommy Vincent, welcome to the show.
Thanks, Louis. It's always good to be back. Good to see your face as always, and excited to talk with your audience.
Well, this is great because I love the topic that we're going to cover today, and it's really interesting. I think it's called AI and Hub Analytics, and how those two are being merged. And I know that you guys are really working on, you've always been in the AI part. I know that Hub Analytics started there before anybody else was, but I know that recently you've added some more programs and some more releases to take it to the next level. So let's first talk about AI in general, how AI is important to Hub Analytics and why it's integrated into your system.
Yeah, absolutely. Well, I like starting with AI, honestly, because it's funny with AI. I think a lot of people almost feel a little burned out. It's like, oh my God, we're talking about AI again. But the reality is that it is real. It's not like Bitcoin, and nothing against Bitcoin. Like, I think that it's going to have its time too. Don't worry. It already has, I suppose. And if you're an investor, but we're not ordering our pizza with Bitcoin yet, like on an everyday basis. Right. But AI is real. It's it's the application of AI. I use it every day. Of course it's ChatGPT, this or that, but it's also being baked into software as a service, SaaS applications out there, or just tech platforms. And they're all leveraging AI to do what they were once doing better. And that's reaching audiences of millions and millions of people. If you're a subscriber of A or B or C platform, you're now using AI. Their platform's probably getting a lot better. And so the application of AI is real. You just can't ignore it, right? And I think it's particularly relevant in terms of bookkeeping and accounting because, technically, like I've said this before, and I'll say it again, I think that accounting feels gray to most people, but it's actually a black and white thing. And AI thrives no more better than in a black and white environment when it's deterministic, right and wrong. And now AI can thrive in less deterministic environments as well. But I think that accounting and finance, you're going to see a lot of innovation in terms of AI because it's a great place for it. You can automate a lot of things when it comes down to the numbers.
So the automation part, I think, in the bookkeeping industry is pretty well on its way. So when we talk about artificial intelligence or AI, we're not necessarily talking about the ability to automate. That's already part of the program. I think what I'd love to hear from you is how artificial intelligence is helping on the analytics side of bookkeeping, right?
Yep.
Talk a little bit more about that, because that's where the real value is now, is because you're right. Entries, data entry and all that is either correct or incorrect, or it's misallocated.
Yep.
But AI now helps the bookkeeper find those things, right? It helps them flag things on a rather than the bookkeeper having to look at every individual transaction. AI does that for you and tells you what's going on.
Well, that's the amazing thing. I know you're right. You're spot on, which is, it's the amazing thing is that I think bookkeepers in particular have probably felt a lot of pressure for a number of years. That the threat of automation has been coming. And now what I could say is that that feeling is a little bit more shared. And my point is that a lot of this AI work is doing the work of the CFO, right? Is doing the work of the controller, is doing this analysis. And that's the angle that we always took from day one, which is we wanted to partner with bookkeepers because we don't touch anything with the data entry. We do not automate that data entry. Now we do automate in terms of like validating the actual data work, because a lot of times we'll work with bookkeepers who have 2 or 3 people underneath them, maybe part-time
Right.
bookkeepers helping do that data entry, but then they have to spend their time in the bottleneck of checking the quality of those bookkeepers' work, which basically like doesn't help out the business owner, the bookkeeper business owner, right? So we've got a tool that helps validate that. But more importantly, to your point, Louis, is great. Now you got good data, but with Hub Analytics, you can actually analyze the data, right? And it's not just analyzing it and putting it into a couple of KPIs, which we do too, right? Which is, hey, what industry is your customer in? Are they a
Right.
construction company? Here's 3 or 4 core KPIs that every construction company needs to be tracking. Now you have that. Now you got to, let's go deliver to them. But it goes a step further. And we talk about this a lot, which is rear view mirror versus the windshield, right? KPIs, monthly reports, bookkeeping, that's all the recording of history. That's what accounting has been. But CFO work, that's looking through the windshield. That's forecasting out cash flow analyses. That's coming to the business owner with ideas for how to improve profitability or how to improve growth, and how to improve efficiency and making changes in their business. This is something that Bookkeeper is obviously like never have really dove into that realm. But with something like Hub Analytics, we do all that now. And so we're able to partner with bookkeepers, say, hey, look, you guys do what you do best. And then, we'll work in the mix as well. We'll do all that CFO kind of work for your customer as well. So that's where our focus is. And we feel that AI is just so perfectly suited for that higher, for that more, that kind of analysis. So,
That's a very interesting concept, Tommy, because the the thing about CFO work, some bookkeepers can do it. I'm not telling you that they can't,
mhm.
but that doesn't mean that they want to, right? They live in the what we call the data verification, the data
Mhm.
assurance, the ability to make sure that the record keeping is accurate, but the volume has increased dramatically, right?
Mhm.
And now with AI that Hub Analytics has is the ability for them to verify what their staff is doing, right?
Mhm.
In what the staff is entering the data, making sure that it's proper rather than manually. That's great. The next level is how can they partner with
Yeah.
someone to do the CFO work rather than having to learn it, right?
Well,
Because then they have two options and they can be the conduit.
yeah.
Explain that to us how you are planning to provide that partnership.
Yeah, absolutely. I mean, we go both ways. And I'm glad you brought it up because even when we first started, we had a lot of customers that were bookkeepers, but
Right,
that did put the onus on the bookkeeper to leverage the platform to be the CFO. But there's
right,
a lot that comes with that, in all fairness. And it's what you mentioned is that, I think a lot of people are just kind of focused on doing what they do best, those core functions. But if you're going to be the CFO, are you going to price as a CFO? Are you going to go look for new clients that require fractional CFO services? Does that mean you have to start marketing? And I think a lot of this kind of stuff can overwhelm people, right? It's a business
right.
gift. We can still work like that. And we love to. We'd love to support business owners that want to, and bookkeepers that want to make that shift to like, I want to be strategic. And that's great. But what we also learned is a lot of people don't. And that's totally great. And so we've more recently announced our partner program, which basically allows us to work directly with the end customer. So if you're a bookkeeper, instead of you purchasing Hub Analytics, you send a customer. If you have a customer that says, hey, gosh, I would love to see some more analysis on this, maybe some KPIs and this, that, refer your customer to us. Not only will we offer parts of our platform for free to the bookkeeper who did the referring, but we're also going to pay out a referral fee as well. But the beauty is this, though, is that now that end customer comes to Hub Analytics for their analysis that they need, right? Instead of going to a CPA firm. Because you know what happens if they go to a CPA firm, the CPA firm, the first thing they're going to say is, well, why don't we just take over the bookkeeping? Right. And that's not a good proposition for the bookkeepers, right? It's like, oh, shoot, like, how do I bridge this gap? I don't want to be the CFO, but I also don't want my client to go searching for a CFO who's then going to try to do the bookkeeping. And so we found a ton of success with this where bookkeepers are actually referring their clients directly to us. They're getting a referral fee. The end client uses Hub Analytics to do some analysis. We've got some great tools I think we should talk about a little bit to help business owners. But even more importantly, we're also giving access to our data diagnostics module to the bookkeeper for free so that they can start to automate their business. And so it's just like an absolute revenue stream, absolutely zero cost, zero risk. And it's really a win-win-win for everybody, actually. And we've had a lot of success with that recently.
That's great. Can you talk a little bit about the referral fee is great, but the one that really caught my attention was the access to the analytics component, where how will that benefit the bookkeeper in their practice if they get access to that? Like can you just explain to me in a little more detail about what that means?
Yeah, I would be happy to. And I think that it's so important because we've had the similar response from our partners, our bookkeeper partners, which is like, yeah, I love the referral fee and that's great. And this could add up really fast for me to be a proper revenue stream. But also just the fact that I get access to you guys' platform. And now, so not only do I get the revenue stream, but I'm also getting efficiency gains and automation just because I get now to use your platform. And then the part that we're talking about, Louis, is we have a module in the platform called data diagnostics. And data diagnostics is basically a automated 150 point inspection engine. And it scans for everything that may be incorrect in the underlying data. And this is fantastic because it only takes a couple of seconds to run. We scan the entire accounting file and it'll flag a couple of things, actually. It'll flag things that look irregular compared to normal account behavior. It'll say something like, hey, this expense looks like 10x what normally we see here. Is this a typo, right? Is this a mistake? Then on top of that, we also do checks for best practices, right? Like, hey, we noticed a debit in a credit account or a credit in a debit account, and we're actually scanning everything for basically general best practices. And I would say GAAP, but it's GAAP plus. I think there's some other things that are generally accepted. But it scans everything and it takes a couple of seconds. So the bookkeeper can come in, scan, double check that the bookkeeping was done right. And once it checks out, they can go to their customer and say, hey, your data is good to go. Customer comes into Hub Analytics and starts chatting with the chatbot to ask questions about the data, get visualized charts and graphs, and really have kind of this virtual CFO experience, which is cool.
Wow. That really brought something up to my attention that I think bookkeepers should realize. Because here's and I'm assuming we're talking about QBO, right? We have to be very specific. It's QBO based, right?
Yeah. Right now, we're
if you're not on,
yeah.
So if you're not on QBO, this is not going to work for you. But let's be honest, QBO is dominating the market. I hate to say it, but it's out there. And so if you're a QBO bookkeeper, this is perfect for you. The thing that I really liked about it, even when we talked in the past, is that when a bookkeeper gets a brand new customer from QBO, right? All the data is sitting in there, and the customer says, "Yeah, my records are clean." So, right, no problem. They could put it through this diagnostics test and have a ability to tell the customer, "No, there's a lot of work to be done in here," and they can price the unknowns much better. Is that true?
Yeah, 100%. It's so funny you mentioned that because we see that a lot with our bookkeeping partners where they can start, because once you're in the platform, we allow you to use this with other customers now, right? And the point is if you're looking at a new customer, potentially you're a bookkeeper and you're talking to a new customer, and exactly the experience you brought up, Louis, they say, oh, my books are great. What do you cost? The bookkeeper's like, well, hold on. I need to go look. I need to go check. But it doesn't have to be this long drawn out process. You click 5 seconds later, you've got the entire thing running. You're going, oh my God, there's like 75 flags here. Guys, this is going to be a lot. And it's also, you got 100 accounts and the mapping is really wrong. This is gonna be a lot more work. I've got to like increase my price here. And that's just so great for the bookkeepers to have that kind of security before they
Yeah.
commit to a number and then have to have the hard conversation of raising the price later. So
Yeah, I know that's great. So let's talk a little bit more about the partnership. I know we're going to go into the other components, but I'm really excited about the partnership. So the interesting thing is, if just to go into more detail, is when the bookkeeper has a bunch of customers and they're going in and they say, Hub Analytics, I have these customers. How do I know which ones are a good fit for you? Right? How do I'm assuming the partnership will allow them to identify the CFO possibilities and then recommend and then go from that level. Is that part of the partnership?
yeah, absolutely. I mean, the other thing too to think about is, the power of technology, like for what we can deliver today. Honestly,
Right.
like 20, 15 years ago, 10 years ago, what we do now would have cost 100 grand, and now we can
Yes.
do it for a couple $100. And my point here is this, is that I think in our heads, both bookkeepers, us, I think for everybody universally, thinks that only companies of a certain size could use some CFO guidance. But maybe that's because historically
It's very expensive.
that's been a mismatch. You couldn't be a small company and get CFO guidance. We've just never been there. But I'm telling you, I was literally talking to a business owner yesterday. She owns a mental health group clinic and she's doing about 500K a year. She's trying to grow. And she's thinking, do I hire another clinician as a W-2 or do I hire them as a contractor? Do I do
Right.
this or do I do that? And I don't know, like, why am I not making as much money as I once was? Why am I not? And oftentimes bookkeepers aren't, able to do, that's a lot of analysis, to be honest. That's like just to answer some basic questions takes a lot of analysis. That's literally what Hub does. So when I think about it, if you have customers that are having trouble with decisions because they feel like they don't understand money and they don't understand accounting, which I think is any business owner. Honestly, any big business owner out there, they're a good fit for Hub because it's not going to cost them a lot. Our starting price is $250 per month for one customer to join, right? And they're getting literally the
Right.
power of the world's greatest CFO in their back
Right.
pocket and they can chat with it. So if you're up at 9 o'clock at night and you're the business owner, you're going, oh man, that's a good idea. I wonder if I should invest in this partnership. It's going to cost $10,000. Should I do it? You can go online and start typing and getting a question and answer going with our bot as the business owner and start making those decisions. That is such a valuable thing. It doesn't matter how big or small you are. I think anyone who's trying to grow their business and make decisions is a fit for this, frankly.
I think that's great because that we just talked about it briefly, and after this, we're going to go actually into the actual things that the AI stuff that we talked about before we started the podcast. Is the fact that for the professional bookkeeper they're doing really well in what they're doing. To add CFO work, you need a whole structural change,
Yep.
right? This allows them to give their customers, even at what we call the under $1 million customer base, which,
Yep.
to be quite honest, a lot of bookkeepers have a lot of customers under $1 million, right? And the ones that are usually have that are the sole entrepreneur, the contract bookkeepers, right? This allows them to extend their value, and that extra value is linked into the CFO. And if they want to go to the next level, you guys have that ability. So let's talk a little bit about what are some of the AI things, the AI CFO stuff that you are implementing or that already exist in Hub.
Yeah, well, we're super excited about it. So we've got a bunch of recent releases. One of the first things that we had earlier on, and we took it offline and relaunched it, was cash flow forecasting. And this is one of the number one tools of any CFO on the planet. Louis, you know that, and I think we all know that. Like I mentioned, a lot of accounting, a lot of reporting is all what happened. But what a business owner cares most about is like, where am I going? Like, am I
Right.
approaching a cash cliff in the next 4 weeks or 6 weeks or 8 or 10 or 12, right? And so we've got, and that's not easy work. Like cash flow forecasting is not easy work. And so that's usually a controller or a CFO doing that kind of work for folks. We automate it. Literally, click of a button, analyze all the historical data. You can enter some inputs in terms of like, hey, I'm expecting a big payout here, or I'm expecting a big expense here. How does that change my cash flow for the next X weeks? Um, but um, but that's one of the things that we've launched again recently. The big one that we're most excited about is the chatbot that I was mentioning a moment ago. Right?
Right.
We're connected to the underlying accounting file. We're understanding all that data. Ask me anything. And I think why we're so excited about it is because everybody is already chatting with AI, right? Everyone's using Chat GPT or whatever it might be.
Yes.
But
True.
it's for whatever things. It's recipes or where to go on a date or whatever it might be. Fun stuff. But what if that thing had your business financial data and you could say, should I hire this person as a W-2 or a contractor? Or should I hire a salesperson? I don't know. I feel like I'd really like to move out of sales and get a salesperson humming, but like, how much does that set me back? How much should I save? Because I know I'm going to be making less for 3 months because that person's got to ramp up. All of
Right.
those questions. And what we call that is dynamic scenario planning. This is the reality of an entrepreneur. And the reason that we're so excited about it, Louis, is because if you ask a business owner, do you need your income statement and your balance sheet? I'll be like, no, I don't really need it. And because they want the insights, they don't need the thing, right? And we kind of feel that
Sure.
way a little bit about even like KPIs. And I want to challenge everybody who might be listening to this. Customers may ask, like, I just want a KPI dashboard. I actually challenge that. Do they really need KPIs? Because to me, that's just one more prerequisite, similar to a balance sheet and income statement. It's just a prerequisite to get to insights. And what the chatbot allows us to do is skip all of that and just say, hey, here's your core KPIs. If you want to benchmark, like, it's good to track some KPIs. I will say that, like, just to see your
Right.
baseline. But more importantly, talk to me. What are you thinking about in your business? Are you thinking about marketing? Are you thinking about hiring? Are you looking to expand locations? Are you going to go this way? Are you going to go that way? Start talking to me. And it just becomes literally a virtual CFO that business owner gets to think about ideas and then see what the impact of those ideas, all calculated in a future looking forward cash flow, and it's pretty phenomenal.
Tommy, to me, that sounds like a sounding board. It sounds like uh, uh, for the entrepreneur, a sounding board for them to talk to an expert that knows their data compared to someone who doesn't know their data. I'm assuming the AI then, with the question, takes a look at their data or their numbers that they have access to, possibly compares it to industry standards. It'll go out and take a look, and
All
so
the
all that information, right?
All of the
Um,
above, looking at you versus your peer group, right? What industry are you in, but also what size are you? We're not going to compare you to Nike if you're a small
right,
shoe company, right? It's more like peer
right,
group and say, yeah, you're a little bit overweight in COGS. You're a little bit heavy on OpEx,
yeah, right,
and there's opportunities here. Make this adjustment, and this might actually draw a bigger bottom line impact for you. And you can also use it for goals. Hey, you know what? I really want to get back to making $10,000 or $12,000 a month net operating income. I feel like I'm off of that. I'm making 8. How do I get back there? What could I do? Well, we noticed a few things going on. Here's a couple of tweaks you could make to your operations that would help you get back to that place. A little here, a little there.
and let's go back to the bookkeeper. The fact that the Hub Analytics is providing the sounding board, some of that could easily be shared with the bookkeeper, and the bookkeeper could help achieve these goals because of that, right? So that alleviates some of the stress to the bookkeeper to be in contact with the customer. The customer does a sounding board with the AI, that gets fleshed out. Then he goes back to the bookkeeper professional and says, what's the day-to-day stuff that we have to do?
Yep.
And that's not necessarily a CFO, but it's like the bookkeeper having an assistant CFO attached to their system. And then if they want, they can add more pricing and more value, or at least the connectivity to the customer is 10 times better, right? The more sticky you are, the less price sensitive your customer is.
Well,
That's the rule of thumb.
absolutely. Again, and also keep in mind, like, people are going to start asking more for this, business owners, because it's available. And
Right.
and they're going to go elsewhere. But this allows, especially with our partner program, we're going to bring that back up, but this allows the bookkeeper to keep that customer in their ecosystem, in their little world, right? And now the business owner gets to skip all the middlemen, talk with the world's greatest CFO 24/7, whenever they want, whenever, get really great insights, turn those into actionable things they can do. And the bookkeeper is sharing that experience with them. The business owner can include
Right.
the bookkeeper in their environment so that the bookkeeper can see all those action items and say, hey, I can probably take half of these. You want to knock these out in the next month? Or why don't we knock out one per month and just start slowly, but at the end of 12
Yeah, I
months,
think that's brilliant.
you're going to
That's
go
a
from 18% margin to a 23% margin. That's a big deal, you know?
and the cost to the you mentioned a little bit. So basically, what happens is when we talk about the partnership program, the cost of the virtual CFO component just gets automatically transferred to the customer, not to the bookkeeper. So once they do the referral, the billing process for the CFO components and all the sounding, the chat bot, the cash flow, and all those added items are the customer pays for it directly. Is that correct? Is that
Yes,
correct, Tommy?
100%. So, every one of our bookkeeper partners has a unique link, and it's a sign up link. And it's, hey, click this link and go sign up for Hubby Analytics. You guys will get a little discount. So we offer anybody who's coming in via a bookkeeper referral gets 10% off.
Right.
They use that link. The customer literally just comes in, click, 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 sign up, takes like 2 seconds. They sync their own QuickBooks file, and then they can invite that bookkeeper into that experience. And that bookkeeper has their own hub experience. But the
Right.
billing, our billing relationship is with the end customer. The only thing that changes is that bookkeeper actually gets a referral fee as well. So, hey,
And gets access to the analytics.
somebody used your unified link to sign up, you get access to the analytics and you get that referral fee. Kudos.
Yeah. And then also too, they get to participate in the CFO process because now they're going to engage with the customer on the sounding. I think that's brilliant. Has this already started or when is it starting?
We've just been rolling it out, honestly, within the last 45 days. We've experimented with a couple of our really good bookkeeping partners and had a really, really great response from it. And I think it goes back to what I mentioned towards the beginning, Louis, is we're happy if a bookkeeper wants to become our customer, where they pay
Right.
us and they're delivering all of this value to their customer. They want to be kind of like hoarding the value a little bit,
Fair
right?
enough.
We're fine
Yeah.
with
Yeah.
that. But a lot of people don't want to do that. A lot of people just don't. They don't want that risk. They don't want that responsibility. This is another option that we feel like is starting to work really well for people and you can switch, right? You can start as a referral, kind of partner and move into being a customer at some point in time if you feel like, okay, this is really great.
Well, what's really refreshing with Hub Analytics and what we're talking about is the fact that it allows both types of professional bookkeepers, the ones that are very effective in their automated systems and stuff, and they want to provide this next level service,
Mm-hmm.
but don't necessarily want to do the service, right? Or they're not set up and they'd rather share in it, and also allowing them to be the contact point, right? Because like you said at the very beginning, because it's Hub Analytics sounding board, the chat, the professional CFO uh, is connected to the software. You don't have to worry about possibly uh, losing the customer to a CPA because now they're bringing it in house, right?
Yep.
That's still optional to you. At the other level is the smaller business owner who really needs that but can't afford it. This is a great way for them to afford it and have the bookkeeper be part of the process, right? Without, you know,
100%. I mean, this is one of the things that gets us the most excited is, I don't know if you even know this, Louis, but one of our missions is to make business owners' lives better through excellent
right,
financial management. But there's always been a gap. There's always been a gap for small business owners because doing this kind of work, not or without AI, it takes a specialty. These people, those CFOs, they work really dang hard to get to where they were. they're not going to do it for a couple $100 a month, right? And so it's kind of like,
Oh no,
the small business.
Tommy, it's usually starts at 5,000 and up, 5,000 a month and
Well,
up.
that's, and what small business owner do you know can handle $5,000 a month, and they can't? And then they say, well, maybe, and they just go without it. And that is changing. Small business owners are never going to be better supported in history than they are right now, because we can start to do some of that advisory work for a fraction of the cost for them, right? And that's all it is.
Fantastic.
A CFO is just, it's a coach. A CFO is a coach. Somebody's in their corner making them feel good and like confident about some of the decisions they want to make. And everyone deserves that. Business ownership, entrepreneurship is hard. It's totally hard, and it's fun, and it's great. But if we can't support those people more and help with the small business failure rate, gosh, like what are we doing, right? So that's what we're talking about.
Well, Tommy, this has been fantastic. We started off with, we're still talking about AI, but we're looking at AI specifically from a bookkeeper's perspective in helping their customer base, which is literally the small business owner, not the medium size, the small business owner, and allowing the bookkeeper to make sure that not only can they provide the analytical components, but then provide the sounding board at a level where they don't have to build a whole new infrastructure inside of their practice.
Yep.
And I think this elevates, like you said, it's a win-win-win situation, right? It is.
Perfect. It sounds so cliche, honestly. I even don't even like saying that, but actually it really is.
It's right.
The bookkeeper wins, our partners win because they get to keep the customer and add value, even directing their customers at us. Sometimes we find that those business owners are like, man, awesome. Thank you, bookkeeper. You know what I mean? Because they're helping them, and we win, customer wins. So it's really something we've felt very good about, right? It feels like the right fit for people.
So before we go, where do they go to sign up, or what do they have to do?
Where
is this?
No need to get complicated about it. All you got to do is go to our website, hub-analytics.com. Click on, I think the button says request a demo, but that's really, that's a demo plus talking to our sales team. But they'll get you in touch with the partnerships team if that's what you want to do. That's all you got to do. Just funnel it through that same way. Just get in contact with us, and we'll make sure that we meet you where you need to be, if it's as a customer of ours or as a partner of ours. We're excited to work with you. So
fantastic. Well, Tommy, this is great news. I think this could really, really change the landscape for bookkeepers and how AI can actually help their practice, and more importantly, help the small business owner get this next level of service. So I really think, I really like it. Thank you very much, Tommy. That's very great.
Yeah, my pleasure, Louis. Always a pleasure talking with you, being on the pod, and I look forward to doing more.
Well, that wraps up another episode of the Successful Bookkeeper podcast. To learn more about today's guest and to get access to all sorts of valuable free business building resources, you can go to thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Until next time, goodbye.
You've been listening to the Spotlight edition of The Successful Bookkeeper with Louis Prosperi. For more information and to access the resources mentioned in this episode, please visit us at thesuccessfulbookkeeper.com. Thank you for listening, and have a great week.